Hey guys, welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Friday the 13th. Yes, Friday, December the 13th, 2024. And big night of boxing coming up on Fox Sports, the No Limit on Fox event. And what a way to spend a Friday night, just less than 2 weeks before Christmas. So we've already had the show earlier in the week, of course, with Connor Wallace and the Justice Huni doubleheader, which was fantastic. What was it? The Christmas Cracker? I love that name. Really, really good name. I'm not sure what this is, unless it's just No Limit on Fox. I don't know. But before we get into a bit of a preview of the card, firstly, congratulations to Billy Dib, who last night put a bow on his career with a win over there in Germany. I don't really know much about the opponent or much about the fight. I haven't seen the fight yet, but he did win a unanimous decision apparently. So really good way for Billy to go out. He had, I think it was his last fight before the cancer scare, was that controversial fight with Jacob NG where he won by disqualification. But this is a little bit different, isn't it? He actually gets the win and goes out on his own terms. And what a comeback to be given, what was it? I think it was 12 months to live or something like that. I mean, this guy has a massive heart to be able to come back from that, get through the treatment, and then to actually get in the ring in a competitive fight and come through. Just an amazing story of Billy Dib, and maybe there's a telly movie or something in that down the track, who knows, or a series, I don't know, but yeah, really great stuff by Billy Dib. The one other thing I did see this morning, I just have a quick look through the local sites or the websites to see what's happening, and it's the 39th year anniversary of Bone Crusher Smith knocking out Tim Witherspoon in one round to win the WBA heavyweight title. And he really turned heavyweight boxing on its head, because Mike Tyson at that stage had just won the WBC. Actually, no, it's 38 years. 1986 it was, the end of 1986, so apologies for that. Mike Tyson had just won the WBC heavyweight title over Trevor Berbick. The next stop was going to be terrible Tim Witherspoon for that WBA strap. Tim Witherspoon decided to take a tune-up fight with Bone Crusher, who he'd beaten previously, by the way, quite comfortably, and went in there fat, overweight, and not motivated at all. And Bone Crusher come out throwing bombs and got him out of there in one round. And I remember after that fight, when it was going to be Tyson and Bone Crusher, they said it could be the most explosive heavyweight fight in history. Both guys, of course, love to throw bombs, but what they sort of forgot is that even though Bone Crusher could obviously punch with a name like Bone Crusher, of course, boxing skills left a lot to be desired, and he'd lost most of those other big fights he'd fought. He did beat Frank Bruno before that, by the way, but he'd been beaten by Larry Holmes and a couple others, so he got in there. And when we all expected the big bombs to come, they were non-existent. Poor old Bone Crusher went into his shell, suffered the same fate as many other Tyson opponents around that time, and didn't really give a yelp, and pretty much stayed on the outer for 12 rounds until the last 5 seconds when he supposedly landed a punch that wobbled Tyson, which I don't think it did. But that was his moment of fame, the big Bone Crusher. And yeah, he lost his WBA belt in his first defence. But I still remember it like it was yesterday, because I was a big Tim Witherspoon fan. I was really looking forward to Witherspoon versus Tyson, even though I was 13 years old. Loved Tim Witherspoon because of that fight that he had with Larry Holmes back in think I didn't watch it live, by the way. I would have been 9 years old or something, but I remember once getting into boxing, watching. I think they had a replay of. Actually, did I watch it live? I can't remember, but I remember watching it as a young kid and loved Tim Witherspoon's style and everything as well. So anyway, that was 38 years ago this week was that fight. All right, so we're going to get into tonight's fight, and all the guys and girls weighed in yesterday. And I didn't really catch the whole thing because I was on the road. I've been on the road every day this week, but I did see some of the social media stuff. And I've got to say, first of all, in the main event, I mean, look, if I'm going to be honest, I think it's going to be quite uncompetitive, but I like Adrian Rodriguez's style. I love the innovation too of going into the face-off with Brock Jarvis with a GoPro or a camera, whatever it was, on his, I don't even know where it was, but he actually brought the fans into the face-off with Brock Jarvis, and you could hear everything that Brock Jarvis was saying, and it was pretty cool. But we'll get on that in a sec. All right, so the first fight on the card, I think this is in order, I'm not quite sure. Tawosi Vusuatu versus Kenny Nico. So Vusuatu 7-1, 6 KOs against Kenny Nico, 2-3 with 1 knockout. Look, I don't know anything about Kenny Nico, but judging by the record, I would think that's going to be a pretty early night in favour of Tawosi Vusuatu. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think I'll just call him Tawosu. Come here, buddy. So yeah, I think that's kicking off. That's at heavyweight anyway. So look, it should be a nice way to start the night. Should get people up and about, because as I said, by those records, you would think that it's heading one way. Then into the next fight, it's a lightweight fight. I don't really know much about either of these guys, if I'm being honest. Ahmed Reda, 3-0, 3 KOs. He's coming up against Michael Reynolds, who's 1-1. Again, judging by what side of the poster they're on and the records, you would think that Ahmed Reda is he the one that's been calling out Garside? If it is, I have seen him fight a couple of times. Good young prospect. Long way to go, but a good young prospect. But as I said, judging by the side of the poster and the record, you would think that Reda will win that quite comfortably. Although upsets have happened. Fighters on there that have come in with supposedly inferior records and have got the job done against some of the favourites on the left-hand side of the poster, so we'll see. But then we get into the main part of the card. Now this fight, the order of the card is a little bit weird to me. We have the third fight on the card of a 7-fight card is a world title fight, the only world title fight on the card, and it's Kay Scott versus Desley Robinson. So regardless of whether you think it should be main event or anything like that, I did mention that the other day and most people disagreed, and that's fine. You would think that it would at least be maybe co-main. It's a world title fight featuring 2 Aussies. I don't get it. And not just any 2 Aussies or whatever. These are 2 really well-credentialed fighters. Kay Scott, I'm talking about here, and Desley Robinson. So it's for the IBF middleweight title. So you got Kay Scott, who's 4-0, well, and then you got Desley Robinson, who is 8-3. Come here, man. So, and one of those losses was to Kay Scott. So, yeah, I just thought it would have been a little bit further up the table, if I'm being honest. Come here, man. Come on. Jeez, he's been stubborn today. Probably because we're on a different route. But yeah, look, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I just thought a world title fight, whether it's male, female, whatever, you would think would be a little bit higher than the third fight on the card of a 7-fight event. So as for the fight itself, so as I said, Kay Scott 4-0, Desley Robinson 8-3, 3 KOs. Look, I thought the first fight that Desley Robinson won the fight. I thought she won, what was it, a 10-rounder, I think it was. I thought she won 6 rounds to 4. I thought she really dominated most of that fight. I thought she really made life hard for Kay Scott, who really couldn't get settled. Like Kay Scott is a very accomplished amateur. I think she was a silver medalist at the World Championships. Desley Robinson has sort of done it the hard way. Yeah, I think Desley Robinson can get it done. The big question is going to be is whether they're going to give it to her, because last time, as I said, like, she was definitely the B side, if not the C side. It's just a matter of whether the judges, if it's close, are going to go the way of Desley Robinson. Let's hope, especially considering what happened earlier this week with Chen Zhengyang. I mean, that was just disgraceful. I don't know what you guys thought about that either. But, yeah, I think Desley Robinson will win. It's a matter of whether or not she will win, if that makes sense. Although let's just hope that the first fight was just a bit of an aberration as far as the scoring goes, and they get it right this time. So whoever wins properly. Let's hope that's the case. But look, it's going to be a tough fight for both girls. I think we're going to get a better fight than the first one. I think both girls are got a couple more fights under their belt since then, and obviously have got the targets on each other on a big show tonight. So let's hope it's a good one. All right, on to the other 3 fights on the card. And first of all, we've got Jazzy Parr, Shannon O'Connell, a fascinating fight. Yes, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one to pick. You would think that the youth of Jazzy Parr, and look, she's a really, really good young boxer, is Jazzy Parr. What is she? 6-0 with 1 stoppage against Shannon, who's 24-8, 1 draw, 12 stoppages. So you would think that with her youth and her just overall boxing skills, she's had a lot of experience in other arts as well against, well, you think that would be enough against someone like Shannon, who's in her 40s now and a lot of miles on the clock, and coming off that really tough fight a couple of months ago with what was it, Motu from New Zealand, and that she got really banged around in that fight, that accidental head clash, and that, you know, really knocked her around in that. So yeah, but look, Shannon, she's just managed to hang around for so many years, and when you think she's gone, she pops up with a win. And I know a lot of people focus on the Ebony Bridges fight, and especially just the last one. I don't really go much by the last one because she copped that accidental head clash, and I mean, it would have been like getting hit with a baseball bat. It really knocked her around and concussed her, and she had the cut and everything else. So I'm going to just put a line through that one. So she does get based or judged a little bit on the Ebony Bridges fight, and I get that. But before that, let's not forget, she had a win over Shanika Johnson not long before that. She had a win over Taylor Robinson not long before that, plus many other Aussie girls as well. So you just don't know what Shannon's going to find, and she is motivated. I did say in our some of the other videos I've done in the last few weeks that with Shannon, she's not going to respect Jazzy's power. And that's where things might turn, because Shannon's, you know, she's going to come forward. She's not going to have any fear of getting hurt, I don't think, by Jazzy Parr. So she's going to really put it on Jazzy. And Shannon is the bigger fighter. She's come down to bantamweight, but she has fought as high as featherweight. Jazzy Parr's a super flyweight. So yeah, look, I think it's going to be a really, really good fight. I'm not quite sure who to lean with. I can see both girls winning. I can see the experience of Shannon coming through and her being a little bit too strong and hard for Jazzy and getting the win, but I can also probably see Jazzy Parr maybe just boxing Shannon from a distance and winning a decision. So either way, really looking forward to this fight. And I think is it over 8? I think it is. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't say on the poster here. And then this is the interesting one for me. The co-main is a guy making his debut, and it's Callum Peters, the Olympian. I get that, put him on the card and everything else, but as a co-main event, and look, he has changed opponents. George Webb-Rose is out, and I didn't sort of see, I don't know much about the new opponent. Someone is a Holden, is it? I didn't see the weigh-in part of it, but he's a new opponent. I'm not quite sure whether it's still for the Australasian light heavyweight title. Come on, buddy. Look, I don't care who you are or what your background is, there should not be a title of anything at stake in your pro debut. I just don't get it. And it just makes a mockery, if you're asking me, of any title, whatever it is. So I don't like it. How can you fight for a title in your first pro fight? So that's just my one little gripe. But on the other hand, really looking forward to seeing Callum Peters in action. He's a really, really good young fighter. And again, I don't know anything about Holden, is it? I haven't got his full name on here. But I think you get the idea of who's probably going to win that fight. I would think that's Callum Peters all the way. And as I said, really looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer. Then we go to the main event. Brock Jarvis, 21-1, 19 KOs against Adrian Rodriguez, 13, 10 and 2. With 6 KOs. So look, for all the entertainment that Adrian Rodriguez brings, I think it's pretty obvious he's doing this fight for one reason, and that's the money. And look, hey, this is why they call it prize fighting. You got to fight. He realises the deal. He realises is he even the B side? He's definitely on the right hand side of the poster, that's for sure. But I like Adrian because he knows that. And he said himself, hey, look, they ring me, they make me an offer for the fight, and I'm there. And he does look in pretty good condition too. And look, he hasn't won a lot of fights. I think he's lost his last 7, if I'm being honest. But at least you always get a fight from him. You never see him turn up out of shape and get blown away and embarrass himself. He always turns up and has a crack, and that's what I like about him. But he's got no hope whatsoever of winning this fight, and I think he knows that. This is all the Brock Jarvis show. This is all to set up the fight with Nikita Tszyu next year, and maybe others. I don't know, maybe Zerafa or Hardman if he comes back. I don't know, but you see where they're going. They want to get behind Brock Jarvis, and I get that. He's very, very marketable, and I think not a Tim Tszyu fight, a Nikita Tszyu fight would do big things here in Australia. So I think we all get it, and especially Adrian gets it. And that's what, as I said, I like about him. And I really like that innovation of coming out with the camera, so we can all get bought into it. I'm not quite sure Brock knew what was happening, because there were a few comments exchanged there. And the one thing that was a little bit awkward for me is with Brock doing a little bit of the bravado sort of stuff and puffing the chest out and trying to do a little bit of trash talking. It's just a little bit awkward for me, because it's not really he's in his persona, if you know what I mean. And whether it's Brock or anyone else who does talk a bit that way, it's like it's a little bit cringe sometimes, because it's not their thing. And I know they get told by the promoters or maybe the team they've got to talk it up a little bit and maybe get a little bit of push and shove, but sometimes it's a bit awkward if it's not really their thing. And I just get the impression that Brock's, look, he's a quiet guy, and I've met him a few times, promoted him a couple of times as well, and he's just that type of guy who just likes to sit in the background and not talk much and just do his thing. And maybe they should have wheeled out Jeff Fenech to do the talking for him. Would have been a lot more entertaining. But anyway, it is what it is. He'll get better at it. It's a little bit when they tried to get Tim Tszyu to do it a little bit as well. Once he got overseas, they tried to make him sort of trash talk a little bit more, and it's again, it's just a little awkward. But anyway, so to the fight itself, as I said, I don't think it goes any other way except probably a Brock Jarvis domination. Whether he gets a stoppage or not, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what he's like in middleweight, though. That's probably the main reason I'm tuning in. Well, it's not the main reason. Of course I'm tuning in. It's boxing, isn't it? And it's on Friday night. It's on Fox. Of course I'm tuning in. I don't care who's fighting. But the one thing that I'm intrigued in is how Brock's going to go. I've got a feeling he's going to look pretty good. Now, of course, the opponent's going to make him look pretty good. I get that. But I like the way he looked on the scales. He looks massive. And he doesn't look out of place as a middleweight. There's been a lot of talk about he's not a middleweight, he's too small and this and that, but he's actually taller than Rodriguez and looks so much bigger than Rodriguez. So I think size-wise and everything, he's going to be okay. I think strength-wise, even power-wise, I think he's going to be okay. I know there's been a lot of questions raised about whether he can take a punch at middleweight, considering that he's been knocked out at 140 and really knocked around and shaken up at lighter weights than that. But I've just got a feeling the fact he is carrying that extra weight, you can see his neck's a lot thicker, his core's a lot bigger or thicker. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll take a lot of shots a lot better than what he did at the lower weights, just simply because he's just a lot bigger, a lot healthier more than anything. He's not struggling to make the weight like he did earlier in his career, and it'd be interesting to see a side-by-side of, let's go back to even the last time I was involved with Brock was in 2019, and he fought on the Horns or Rafa card in Bendigo, and he fought at 122 from memory. So it'd be interesting to get a photo of that. I'm sure I've got one somewhere and compare it to the weigh-in yesterday. I'm sure it'll be stark. It'll be a bit like Superman swallowed Clark Kent and turned into, whatever it is. Is that the saying? Probably not. I think I just made that up. Whatever, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, so that's the fight of tonight, or fights for tonight, and I think it'll be a good card. I really do. Looking forward to seeing everyone in action. And as always, I'm sure Don't Limit will put on a really good show. But I think, in my opinion, apart from the two girls' fights, I think they're all pretty predictable. But even so, I'll be there with bells on watching. And the other thing is, I will be doing the live watch along from 7 p.m. tonight. To if you want to tune in and have someone to watch the fights with and give you comments and all that sort of stuff. So look forward to hopefully seeing you then. So guys, have a great Friday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.